North Charleston Police Chief Reggie Burgess is retiring after over 30 years in the police department. Now he's looking to the future as he's running for mayor of the city of North Charleston. I talk one-on-one with Reggie for this edition of Quintin's Close-Ups. And if you haven't already, subscribe to my YouTube channel and like Quintin's Close-Ups on Facebook. North Charleston Police Chief Reggie Burgess, welcome back to Quintin's Close-Ups.
Hey, Quintin, it's a blessing to be on your show because you are the person that I most likely like to talk to. Because you talk about real things, man, and I'm about real things, and I it's a blessing for me to talk to you anytime. I don't care if it's on Zoom, in person, or walking down the streets, man. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for what you do.
Oh, you're welcome, and I'm happy to serve the community, and I know that you've been happy to serve the community for over 30 years in the North Charleston Police Department, just recently as North Charleston Police Chief. You're retiring in early May. So where are you emotionally after all of these years, Chief?
Yeah, I would say I am full of emotions. This is my last week before the last week, 2 weeks I've got. And of course, I've got to start packing some of the things I have that are personal for me. The majority of things, they will stay here because a lot of my books and a lot of my journals that I've actually read or actually had a part in, they will stay here for the other commanders to be able to gleam over once in a while to see how we did things and, how we formulated programs and initiatives and strategies. So when I'm looking over, I said, wow, I can't take all this stuff home because I really don't need it at home. I need it to stay here. And when I say that to you, Quintin, is this: when I was in college, my last year in college, and of course I went to college, on a football scholarship, my whole objective was to leave that university better than I found it. But the most important part for me, Quintin, was as a leader, as one of, I was All-American and All-Conference and, one of the captains of the team, was to leave all the abilities that I had, I was given by God, leave all those abilities back there with the juniors and the sophomores and the freshmen and the walk-ons. Because if you take it with you, then they don't have an ability to get better. So I left everything that I had with them in 1980, 88, 89. So here I am at the police department. I'm leaving most of my journals, most of my books, most things, and my knowledge of how to actually work in your community and to make a difference. So I'm leaving everything here for them so they can carry on.
But Chief, let me ask you this, because you said that you gleaned over a couple of things. What have you gleaned over that was wrong, and what are the things that you gleaned over that you thought was right?
Well, one of the things that I thought was wrong, and I even knew it back then, it just didn't kind of compute to me back then, was when we were actually looking at violent crime, when we were actually ranked in the national spotlight. We were number 7th in the nation at that time. And we just thought that if we increased our arrest, then crime would go down. If we increased our saturations of neighborhoods in the law enforcement side, crime would go down. Where we realized that doing that type of thinking that way and using that type of model of law enforcement, it doesn't do anything but separate us tremendously from the trust factor in the community, and then it also causes us to lose our way in our true essence of trying to, be community policing, police officers. So I learned that in 2014, we were really, really kind of trying to put things back together. But because we had learned really the way that law enforcement has to change, we ran into the Walter Scott shooting in 2015.
Yeah, in 2015, exactly right. Now, Chief, aren't those numbers still the same today? Aren't you guys still ranked nationally high at number 7?
Oh no, we're not. No, we're not ranked nationally. No.
But the rates are still high, right?
Yeah, the rates are the population. Our population is 125, possibly. We had last year. We had probably, I think, less than 30 something. I think we had 31 homicides. Okay. The population, when you do your division, it's not good, but you got to take in consideration the whole entire nation experienced a spike in crime. All different cities experienced that. We actually had a 12% reduction in violent crime. We did. We experienced that. So, yeah, you're going to have your issues, but when you talk about, robberies, and you talk about burglaries, and you talk about home invasions, things of that nature, a lot of those crimes went down. The homicide rate was kind of steady somewhat, but we even went down on our homicide rate as well.
But Chief, let me go back, because obviously you've been the police chief, I believe, since what, 2015, 2016?
2018. 2018, yes, sir.
But since that time, you haven't been able to lower the crime. So what has been your trick to stop this?
Well, to tell you the truth, we haven't been able to lower the homicide rates like we wanted to until last year. We were actually at 20, I think we were at 21 or 22 in 18. Then we started climbing. And then we ran right into 2020, which was a pandemic. And then we kind of stayed in 21, and then 2022 is when we started to go down. And what I'm saying is there's no excuse for violent crime. What we've learned from those 5 years is that's why you saw what we were doing, being more community minded. So what you're seeing is this: our violent crime when it came to homicides, and that's an individual thing, Quintin. That's an individual thing. If you brandish a gun to shoot somebody, I can't blame you, Quintin, as being a newspaper, a news article guy, a journalist, and you can't blame me as a police officer. You've got to actually peel that orange back to get to the part of it that's more edible. And what I'm saying is, Quintin, criminologists say that aberrant behaviors, people who act in ways that you and I don't act like, there's trauma associated with that. Trauma could be, a broken home. Trauma can be a lack of education. Trauma can be a community that is really not conducive for a child to live in because it's unsafe. Trauma can be, food deserts. Trauma can be, a lack of good medical attention. There's a lot of things that goes into why crime happens, Quintin. So what I'm saying to you is that we can't blame you as a journalist, and you can't blame me as a police officer. It's a society problem. It's a socio-economical situation, and the disparities, if you look at the crimes, if you really look at the crimes, where are they occurring at, Quintin?
Yes, sir. Where exactly are the crimes happening in your city, North Charleston?
They're occurring just like in the city of Charleston, Quintin. If you look at them, they're occurring in the challenged neighborhoods.
Where are the challenged neighborhoods in North Charleston?
Well, I think you know those challenged neighborhoods. We're talking about, we had, Dorchester Wayland was one, is coming out of it. The Terrace, Shakur Cherokee has always been known to have, to lead the way in violent crime. We had a little bit of crimes in Ackleby, a little bit of crimes in Union Heights, a little bit of crimes in other areas like Charleston Farms. But those areas are changing. And the reason why those areas are changing, Quintin, is because the folks in those communities are standing up against crime. And not only stand up against crime, they're actually changing the lifestyles of their living conditions in their home. And you and I happen to be raised by people that told us, right, that if you do wrong, there's consequences and repercussions from that, right? So we knew when we placed our hand on the fire, what would happen? It would burn us, So some people are not taught that way, Quintin. Some people are taught that, hey, get yours the best way you can. Harm those who have what you want. Break in somebody's house to get what they need. So that's what makes a community a challenged neighborhood, because those conditions that I mentioned earlier, broken homes, failure in education, food desert, all those things play into that. So it's not only law enforcement problem or journalist problem, it's a society problem.
But Chief, when you look at your community policing practices, aren't you guys still failing the community?
No, we're not failing. You know why? Because it's not going to change overnight, Quintin. It's not going to change overnight. What our whole premise to do what we do in law enforcement was two central themes. The first theme was to develop a relationship with the people we serve. We've done that. We have the audit said we have the most robust community engagement initiatives they have ever seen in 12 years. We do everything in our community. When we do that, we gain trust and confidence from our community. The second thing is to actually look at each neighborhood as it is. Not to look at Quintin neighborhood and say, oh, his neighborhood is like Reggie Burgess' neighborhood. Evaluate your neighborhood, evaluate the causes to the conditions, why his neighborhood is the way it is. And then we actually develop strategies to go in those neighborhoods to try to improve those neighborhoods with the community and government. So, yeah, you have a good saying that, but if you look at how the perception of law enforcement in North Charleston, it has changed, Quintin.
But Chief, people are still afraid of your officers. So how could that be true?
Well, who the people, Quintin?
There are people complaining every day about your officers and how they're treating them every day. So how is your policy actually working? Is it working in one neighborhood and not the other?
You know, I believe it's working in all. It's just that when you talk about complaints, when the racial bias audit was put together by CNA, there were 149 people that came to the listening sessions. 149 people actually visited the Zooms or came in live. We have 125,000 people in the city of North Charleston. 149 people, majority of those people didn't live in North Charleston. So when the audit tells you that we over police, the audit tells you the truth. But what the audit doesn't tell you, what I can tell you, what any law enforcement person can tell you, and any civic club president can tell you, if you have a neighborhood that has a high volume of call for services, in other words, victims.
Right.
You get what I'm saying? So if you got victims calling from Shakur Cherokee and they're telling us that they're African Americans, right, that are being victimized, then they tell us when we get to the call for service to the scene, they're telling me that an African American victimized them. So who are we going to actually be looking for, Quintin?
Are you frozen? Oh,
yeah, I guess so. Can you hear me?
No, I can hear you. So let me ask you. Let me ask you this, Chief. Where the high calls are coming from right now?
The high calls of crime coming from the challenged neighborhoods every day. Every day.
And how many of those calls have actually spiked in the past 2 months?
They really hadn't spiked. The only time they spike, we do predictive policing. The predictive policing model tells us to evaluate the crimes prior to the last year. Like we would look at April of 2022. Look at what's going on in April 2022 and then come up with some strategies on how we can get into those communities so we won't have a replication of the same crimes that happened in April. Now, here we go, Quintin. What happened last week? What happened in school last week? Spring break, right? So we already predict that. We know that's coming. So when the kids are out of school, there's more people in our neighborhoods walking our streets, right? So therefore, there's going to be more activity of criminal activity being reported, and that's exactly what happened. So now, if you look at
oh, go ahead. Yeah, well,
if you look at this week's crime,
right,
I can guarantee you'll see that the crime level has softened a whole lot because when people are out, they get out and they get involved with aberrant behaviors, and when they get involved with aberrant behaviors, either they're going to try to break in your car, either they're going to try to break in your home, or they're going to try to get into fights, or they're going to have beef with each other, and you see how those things happen. Man, Quintin, this nation has experienced 155 mass shootings. So when you ask me about why crime is prevalent here, you need to ask the nation that. It is what it is, Quintin. That's the numbers, 155. There were over, I believe, between 35 to 40 mass shootings in the month of April itself. So it's a national public safety crisis.
But then, Chief, you've been in office since 2018, but the crime has been going on before COVID. So, what's your message?
The message is this: the more we get the community people, the folks that live in the community, to do more like they're doing now. That's why you have our recap walks. That's why you have the community engagement. That's why you have the nonprofits, 13 of them, doing more in the community, because it won't change overnight, Quintin. What happens when the change comes, when we can help the mothers in these homes that are broken, to fix those homes, the interior. We can help the school system to actually, work with a child, to self-assess that child, to see where the strengths and weaknesses are with that child, to help them to understand the lesson plan a whole lot better. If we can actually do things of that nature in the community, helping the community to get stronger, aesthetics play a part too, Quintin. You go into a neighborhood that's in the southern part of the city, you'll see trash cans, you smell urine, but then, and guess what? Guess what follows that, Quintin? Crime follows that. Social decay follows that. But if you go in an affluent neighborhood like Westcott, you wouldn't see those type of crimes, those coffee services. You won't, Quintin. You will not see it. You will not see it.
But let me ask you this, Chief. That you talk about strengths and weaknesses. So what have been your weaknesses in the police department thus far this year?
The weaknesses in the police department, I think that one of the things that I would say is a weakness with any agency, but with our agency, is that we just really, I would say, simply saying it, we need to get more people involved with mentoring, more people involved with tutoring. We need to be able to provide more of assistance to these mothers and these fathers in the communities that are challenged, because the people who are committing those crimes, as you keep saying, well, Chief Burgess, you hadn't changed this, or Chief Burgess, you hadn't changed. What I'm saying to you is that it changes when we're able to change the individuals in the communities. If we're able to take a young man like you and take a young man like me and say that, like me, I struggled in school. I wasn't the smartest. I wasn't voted most likely to succeed. I was the best dressed, but I wasn't voted most likely to succeed. But you take a person like me and you and say, hey, Quintin and Reggie, you can be somebody, and we're going to show you how to get there. That will help that mother who actually had to deal with a child who was incorrigible and a child that was out here committing crimes. Because as I said to you again, Quintin, you're a journalist. I'm a police chief. You and I are not committing these crimes. We're not doing it. So who is doing it? But the people who are doing it, Quintin, those are the people we need to help. We need to help them to unlearn what they learned, which is the wrong thing, is bad. So that's the problem.
So what are the demographics that are actually committing the crimes right now?
The majority of people in my city, in North Charleston, if you want to go a little deeper, the people who are victimized in the Part 9 crimes, which are the highest level crimes, African Americans are victimized in my city more than anybody, Quintin. Anybody.
How about the Caucasians? How about the Latinos?
Caucasians are victimized, and Latinos. But you talking about the majority, the major? You've seen my homicide boards, haven't you?
Yes, sir.
Who's on there the most, Quintin?
And why are they on that board? Why are they on that board?
Because I said those things that the epidemiologists say. People who live in the conditions that are not good to live in, they get up every day trying to find a way to survive. I lived in that condition when I was younger, but I had a great mother that didn't believe in that, Quintin. My mother believed that you be a man about your business and don't take a shortcut. Learn it the hard way, work hard for your money. But some of our children, are either taught to do it the wrong way, or they emulate other people. And they say, oh, I want the shiny car, or I want the bling on my hand, or I want the nice clothes. But then what happens is what they do. They put a gun in their hand, like MLK said, Junior, and now they're out here robbing somebody to get what they want. Now they're out here, putting poison in our communities. And then what happens with that, Quintin, when you have robberies and drug dealings, and you have prostitution, and you have bad situations, then crime comes, because it's crime already.
Now, you talk about the kids, and most of them, unfortunately, committed those crimes, but what about the adults, the grown people?
It's the same thing. If you look at the backgrounds of the grown people, Quintin, you will see the trauma that they have experienced. Because most of the people that commit our homicides, if you break their lifestyles down, they came from the same situation, Quintin. We can't ignore that the disparities in our challenged neighborhoods will continue to cause crime to be a something that that we all going to frown upon. But until we invest as a community, as a government, into actually taking these situations and changing those situations and turning them completely around, putting more substance in the communities, having mentoring and after school programs, having education, something that everybody like to be involved with. And then also, having, not only that, helping these guys who have children that they don't live with, help them to be able to pay the child support, and then get them to be more into their young men's lives. Help them to turn around. Then help the grandparents who has to raise these kids. Help them. Let society help them to be able to raise these children so they can have the resources that they need to be a better person. It's not a rocket scientist approach, Quintin. But if you look at when people do things that's wrong, all you do is dissect them. And I can guarantee you, all those things I told you plays a part in their average behaviors.
Well, what resources do they have now, Chief, from your department?
I think we're the only department probably in the East Coast to actually look at using nonprofits to work in our communities with those issues. And right now in Quintin, they just landed. We sent about 10 nonprofits who are basically, these guys are former drug dealers, former what they call, thugs. They're no longer, they're no longer in that. We sent them to Chicago to learn the violence interrupter program. Once they come back, they will actually be able to teach other folks that want to step up. And now when we have a beef and an argument that's going to result into a violent crime, or if we have a violent crime, we can stop the retaliation of that crime because we got the violence interrupters going there. They've been taught by Chicago, T.O. Hardeman. They know exactly what to do. So that's what I'm saying. In this world, you can always have crime, Quintin. But what are you really doing about it? Are you understanding the crime? And if you understand it, you know how to get to the root of the crime to stop the causes of the condition. That's the problem. Stopping the causes of the condition can help a young man not actually become a part of that problem, but become a solution to that problem.
And quickly, what other causes are there that you are seeing right now as far as trends?
Say it again. One more time, I can hear.
Yeah, what other causes are you seeing right now as far as trends with that?
As you talk about violence?
Yes, sir.
Well, I mean, we can blame it. Man, you can always blame it on the television. You can blame it on the social network. You can blame it on lack of parenting. You can blame it on lack of food. You can blame it on lack of education. All those things play a part. But I truly believe that every child that was born in this world was not born to deal drugs, wasn't born to rape, rob, nor steal. The children learn that. They learn that, Quintin. And we as a community, you, me, and people who are like us, like-minded, we have to go back into our communities and work with our children. That's why I go to Liberty Hill enrichment program 4 o'clock every Monday. I'm talking to those kids. I'm talking to them about conflict resolution. I'm talking to them about, who you should trust and you shouldn't trust. I'm talking to them about how a police officer is supposed to interact with you. And then most importantly, I'm letting them talk to me and tell me about things that they have on their minds. That's when the rubber meets the road, Quintin. That's how we rescue our community. That's how we do it.
Now, quickly, Chief, how does your police officer interact with the community?
Well, hey, I'm not bragging, but the audit said now. I mean, we're doing a whole lot better.
Not the audit, but what do you see face to face?
What do I see?
What do you hear when you're not around those people, around those police officers?
Well, to be honest with you, I hear from the citizens. I hear from the family, the Brown family, that had a candlelight visual, a balloon drop yesterday. Right. When our officers are out there with them. I hear from Ms. Mary here, a 74-year-old lady who was shot. In old Ben Tillman. And our officers were there for the family, not only at the balloon drop, but we did it. We went to the funeral, and we've been working with the family. See, I hear from the people like Ms. Manigo, whose son was killed at the A1 grocery store. how our officers were so much cordial with her, and how they talked to her, how they made her feel better in her time of bereavement. So when I hear things like that, Quintin, being a 34-year veteran law enforcement, police departments never did that back in the day. All we did is did reports, give you information, and then we hit the streets. We are humans, and we're starting to humanize our profession, and that's what I see.
Quickly, Mayor. Sorry, I'm so sorry.
I'm working.
I'm so sorry, but
That's all right.
you talked about the government, and I'm hoping you can allow me at least 5 minutes to ask you about this because I don't know if I'll be able to get to you this summer.
Yes.
But obviously, you're running for mayor. As you know, you said this quote, "Today I'm here to tell you that I'm running today, tomorrow, and every day from now until it's November 7th to earn your vote so that I may become the next mayor of the city of North Charleston. Over the past couple of years, my role in the next phase of my life began to become clear." So let me ask you this, because I have a whole couple of questions for this, because Mayor Summey was rumored for months not to seek another term as mayor. Why did you choose to wait to announce your run for mayor after all those rumors and his ultimate decision not to run?
Well, I can't talk about it because I'm working. I'm working for the people right now. But what I can say to you about this, because I did make that announcement, I said to Mr. Bailey from the Post and Courier when he interviewed my mother for Mother's Day, I said to him in my mother's house that if the people in North Charleston wanted me to run and the mayor was not going to run, then I would step up, because I truly believe that I need to be a part of the city of North Charleston in the government setting. Being the chief of police, this is my 34th year. I haven't done everything that, I set out to do, but one thing I have done, and I've always prided myself on it, was to be a servant to my public. That's what I want to do. I want to make sure that when people needed me, and even when they didn't, that I was there for them. I've always felt that service is number one. People say the Bible says that you can be the greatest, Quintin. You can be the best of everything you possibly can be, that you want to be. But the greatest of all of us is the servant. So that's what I'm saying to you, Quintin. Of all the things that I said, I want to still serve the city, but serve the city holistically, not in one department, police. I'm talking about all of them.
Well, when you actually withdrew your name from the state's public safety department job, you publicly stated, Mr. Reggie, that you wanted to get back to policing and politics wasn't for you. So why this? Why now?
Well, that was 2019, I believe, when I withdrew my appointment, and a lot has happened since then, Quintin. But I'll tell you this right here.
Yes, sir.
One of the things that really drove me back home was my mother was baptized in New Hope Baptist Church in Accobe. I went to New Hope, and everybody there knows me because I got my Singleton family that lives on Accobe. I'm from Union Heights. Yes. I got folks down in Junction Lane, my grand aunt, Faye, so all that is me. That's my grandfather, Harvey Singleton side of the family. But when I went to New Hope, one of the elder people, this lady had to be in her 80s, she said, "Boy, you need to go up there. You from here." That's what she said. That's how she said it. "You need to go up there. You're from here." She said, "I remember when you came in this world. I remember when you had a bottle in your mouth. I remember when you had a pacifier in your mouth. I was there with you, with your family. You are from here." And she said, "There's a whole lot more work you need to do here." That, in 2019, helped me to make a decision that the people said, you are a homeboy. Stay here. That's why I'm going to stay here.
But then, let me ask you this. If you do become mayor of the city of North Charleston, Mr. Reggie, how will funding be for all cities versus certain neighborhoods?
Well, that's the thing about it. Let's say I'm the police chief, because I can't talk about being a mayor.
Right.
So I'm the police chief. Like you said, public safety is the number one issue, it seems, to plague North Charleston. Crime, as you stated earlier. I would like to see our crime continue to go down, like it's 12% last year, continue to spiral down by helping those communities that's challenged to improve their quality of life. If we don't do that, Quintin, and that means that every community in our city should be treated fairly and equally. I say this, Park Circle has always been an affluent neighborhood. My father grew up on Liberty Hill. There's only one street separate Park Circle and Liberty Hill. That's Mixed Avenue. Right. My father used to say to my brother and I, when you move in Park Circle, you've made it. That's what he told me, because he loved Park Circle. Well, Park Circle took a turn during 2008 when we had a real bad economy. And it hit Park Circle just like it hurt every other community. But look at Park Circle now. So what I would do, Quintin, I would lean into the leaders of Park Circle. They're civic club presidents, they're businesses, and say, hey, Liberty Hill, coming over here. Let's meet with Park Circle and let's see how Park Circle turned themselves around. And you can learn from that. See, that's the thing. We can talk to each other. We're right next to each other. Why don't we talk to each other, Quintin? That's one of the ways.
But then, Chief, let me ask you this then. So if you're going to work with that particular group, then how could you make certain that Liberty Hill gets equity and not be gentrified?
But because what you do with Liberty Hill to make sure it's not gentrified, just like you have the Liberty Hill Improvement Council right now, you have the Liberty Hill Next Generation right now. They are thoroughly immersed in every lot that's on Liberty Hill. They know who owns it. They know what they're trying to do with it. They work with the city and they work with other communities to see exactly how Park Circle took a home that's been there since the 40s and refurbished that home and rebuilt that home and sold that home to somebody who think is worthy. So if Park Circle can do it, the answer's right there. So that's what I'm saying. But the government, being the chief of police, the government we have to, as a government, look at all communities count. All communities should be treated equally and fair. And that's something that a government can make happen.
Well, let me ask you this, Dan. What is the tax base for the city of North Charleston?
Well, the tax base in the city of North Charleston itself, it's a 4% and a 6%. Quintin, do you understand what I'm saying? 4% is the regular tax base that either, if you're in North Charleston, you live in Charleston County,
right,
Dorchester County, or Berkeley County. That's natural for home. But 6% goes to people who are renting or leasing. That means that 2% of that money, or one, goes to the Charleston County School District.
Right.
So if you're renting or you're leasing, you pay extra outside your 4%. So you take your taxpayers' dollars and you take it and you make sure that every community is given equal enough share. And then also not Quintin, you have to take in consideration the need may be greater in the challenged communities. So I don't think that Park Circle would have a problem if Sequoia Cherokee is given more, more effort is put towards Sequoia Cherokee to uplift Sequoia Cherokee. Because when I was growing up, Sequoia Cherokee was like Park Circle. It was an affluent neighborhood. So it can return to that.
So what are the greater needs in these neighborhoods that are in need right now?
The greater need, one of the things is people are not talking about, and I look at how you dress, you're a sharp dresser. Aesthetics. I mean, think about it, Quintin, aesthetics. I mean, wouldn't you want your road to be clean? Wouldn't you want your grass to be cut? We trying to stay away from some situations that's called the broken window theory. The broken window theory means that if you live in house 1 and I live in house 3 and we got a neighbor live in house 2, you cut your grass all the time. I cut mine. We take our trash can out. It gets empty. We take it back. We don't have a refrigerator sitting on the front porch. We keep our house clean. Then our neighborhood is going to be affluent, right? It's going to strive. But if our neighbor doesn't do that, he gives up, grass growing high, trash all in his yard. Eventually, if we don't change his mindset, change the way he's looking at things, then you and I are going to suffer. Our equity of our home is going to go down. Next thing you know, crime is going to seep in. That's why I'm saying to you, Quintin, you have to look at things holistically. You can't just look at it and say, well, and I'm not saying you, because you don't do that. Some people be like, why is crime that way? You have to dissect crime and find out why crime is happening. And when you have a street that is like garbage, ridden, and the street is not, taken care of, therefore the homes are not taken care of, social decay sets in, you're going to have crime. That's why you have to reverse that, Quintin.
And 2 minutes left I have. But what is the equity rate right now in the city?
Well, that's a good question. I would say this. We know that our challenged neighborhoods are kind of below the poverty line. We know that our middle class neighborhoods are either there at the middle class or better, and our affluent neighborhoods are. So the equity situation is that, to me, if people are not receiving good incomes, they are not receiving good health care. You got a food desert in those neighborhoods that I talked about. They're not receiving, food goods like you and I can go to Publix on Terrace Street all day, anytime we want to. If that's happening, then the community suffers. Each street suffers. And when each street suffers, the main situation happens is each house suffers. So we need to work on increasing the education level, plus increasing the hourly pay like the mayor has done and other mayors have done. And then we can actually improve the living conditions in the home. But if we work on the aesthetics in our neighborhood, helping people to help improve their homes, helping people to work on the aesthetics in their yards and the streets, then the equity of that street will improve because the houses will become more valuable. You understand what I'm saying?
In 20 seconds, what is the typical income of the city of North Charleston resident?
That's hard to say right now, Quintin, because we're a very diverse community. We have a real low income, then we have a moderate, then we have a middle, and then we have a high end. So I can get that information too, but I can't really tell you that right now.
North Charleston Police Chief and now North Charleston mayoral candidate Reggie Burgess, thank you for your time. And again, welcome back to Quintin's Close-Ups.
Well, thank you, Quintin, man. You be blessed. And hey, keep on doing what you're doing, man, because you are going to help us to make the changes in our town's neighborhoods because you're talking the information that people need to hear. You're speaking about that. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
God bless. God bless.
Likewise.